Hello again, Davidson here from catseye.com, approved driver and instructor training. Today we're looking at the part 2 test of driving ability. Okay, so you will already know that this course is designed to save you money and lots of it. So to that end, please seek your trainer's advice before booking your part 2 test. In the short term, spending a few extra pounds on a couple of extra training sessions saves over £100 in repeat test fees. And more importantly, the added stress and anxiety of going into a second or third attempt at a later date. Using the formula we have introduced with you in car, you should know for yourself when you're ready. However, if you have any doubts, please email me for a prompt response, as always. However, and this is really important, the word test can do strange things to people, and it is not too uncommon for the driver candidate to make errors that never happened before when the test date is approaching. So if you feel overwhelmed, then I have news for you. You're normal. If you fall into this category and need some more time, then please move your test date. It can be moved up to 3 times without charge, or even cancelled. Okay, so now it's the day of test, and here are my top tips for you. Number 1, make sure the day before that you have all your documents and glasses if you need them to hand. This saves frantic searching and arguing on the day, not to mention that there is always someone who says, "Where did you have it last?" Which, as always, if you knew where you had it last, you would have it now. Number 2, make sure you get a good night's sleep, which can depend greatly on your own personal circumstances. I've even recommended that a gentleman with a young family stay in a travel lodge the night before test to ensure he was in the correct frame of mind and performing at his very best. Number 3, we have presentation. The more respectful you can make yourself feel, the more confident you will feel. The more confident you feel, the better the performance you will give, and it shows professionalism to your examiner and that you are taking this whole thing seriously. For males, hair should be clean and off the face, and either clean shaven or beards trimmed and a well-groomed standard. A shirt and trousers or smart jeans should be worn, along with the same footwear you use for normal driving. For ladies, please ensure hair is tied back so the examiner can see when you check your mirrors. If he is in doubt, he has no choice but to mark this as a fault. A smart blouse and dress trousers or jeans is preferred. However, a skirt can be worn if this makes you feel more comfortable. Please think when using strong aftershave or perfume, as in a small space this can be very overpowering. Sunglasses can be worn, however the glasses can be a psychological barrier when speaking to each other and should certainly be removed when talking directly. If the glasses are curved, you may be told to remove them. Number 4, drink plenty of water before your test, but no more than 1 litre an hour. Energy drinks and fizzy drinks should be avoided as they can cause burping and, well, it can cause either a bad smell or, if you're squeezing to hold it in, indigestion can occur. Number 5, pee. Make sure you're not uncomfortable in the vehicle. All test centres have a toilet and you know your body better than anyone, so you know what to do. Number 6, plan your journey to the test centre and ensure you leave plenty of time for traffic. And number 7, do a reconnaissance run in the test area. The time of your test is very important. Is there roadworks, road closures? Is it bin day? Are there vehicles parked close to junctions? Is there likely to be parents doing a school run, maybe running late, or anything else you feel is of value, as this list could be quite exhaustive. And number 8, switch off your mobile phone completely for hopefully obvious reasons. Okay, so in this video we will cover what to expect from the Part 2 test, which looks at the driving ability. The most common misconception students have is that they think they should drive like a learner. This is not the case. You are being asked to drive to an advanced standard based on the driving test. To put this into perspective, think of this as you are demonstrating to a pupil how to drive or complete a manoeuvre correctly. Steve has volunteered today to play the role of the examiner. However, there will be occasions where I break off so I can describe an area of interest in more detail. Steve will also add what he is looking for in a particular circumstance and use terms exactly as the examiner would with you. For the purpose of the video, we will assume the eye test was successful and that the show me tell me element has been completed. Both the show me tell me questions and manoeuvres will be carried out in another video in detail. I hope you find this useful and I look forward to seeing you on the part 3.
Hi Davidson.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Do you mind if I call you Davidson?
No, that's perfect.
Great. My name's Steve.
Okay.
I'm going to be your examiner today.
Right.
Okay. I will explain a little bit about the test, and then we'll set off.
Okay.
Okay. This is a test of your driving ability. So I would like to drive to an advanced standard as you've been taught by your instructor.
Okay.
Okay. From time to time, I'll interrupt you. This will be for several reasons. Either to pull up and park on the left, or to turn left or right at a junction, or even a roundabout.
Okay.
Okay. If we approach a crossroads and a roundabout, and I say nothing, please assume that we're following the road ahead.
Perfect.
Do you have any questions?
No, that's fine.
Oh, great. Okay, so once you're ready, we'll set off and we'll head out the car park. Okay.
Okay, so the examiner's given me a clear directive as to what he's looking for, and it's now up to me to go over it. Now, nerves can take hold at this point, so make sure you go over a mini cockpit drill just to double confirm that you've got everything right. So you've driven the car here, so your mirror should be able to tell you if the doors are shut securely. Seat is in the correct position with the hands and the feet. Seatbelt goes on, and just double check that the examiner puts his seatbelt on as well, which he should because he's responsible for it. However, it's some brownie points if you can pick up on that before we move off. Okay, at this point, double check handbrake and neutral. We're ready, and now I'm ready to take instructions from the examiner.
Okay, great. Once you're ready, if you exit the car park and turn left.
Okay, so good full shoulder checks. I'm particularly looking for nervous people who are about to go on their driving test. Not you, obviously. And I've been asked to turn left at the end. So there's the mirrors and signalling nice and early. I can see way down to the right that it's clear. Stay in second gear at the junction and begin to build my speed. So it's a residential area. I don't expect the speed to increase while there's lots of houses around. We've got a very short stretch of greenery, but I know through local knowledge that there's houses at the other end.
Okay, now the roundabout, we're going to go right for an exit.
Okay, so there's the mirror checks in. Off my gas now. Signal. Now beginning to go for my brake. So see how much engine compression was helping there to slow us down. We're into second gear and we're safe. And by keeping the wheels just moving and no more, means that when you're out with your pupil, there's less chance that they'll stall. So there's left mirror and signal to come off, and then pretty much accelerate to get out of the area of danger.
Okay, now I want you to take second road on the right into the car park.
Okay, so I have my directions. I see the first road. I've already checked my mirrors. You'll have noticed that Steve started checking, for me checking my mirrors before he even finished speaking. This is exactly the timing that we're looking for. Okay, so good look into the junction, good look ahead, aware of the green car behind. Here we go, and we'll pull up and park on the left as instructed.
Okay, if you just find a place on the left and pull up and park, please.
Okay.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay, so Steve stepped out at the moment just so that he can hold the camera for us so you can get an outside view. At this point, as you're aware, the examiner has asked to carry out the bay park and doing it from the right. So from this point, I'll start up and let's get it done. Okay, because you're coming out of bay, it's always much easier as you drive forward a car length and take yourself round to the right. The more room you can give yourself between the bay and the vehicle itself, the better it's going to be. Okay, so vehicle's in reverse now. Have a good check around everywhere. Happy with that. Now the next part is going to be my reference point, which my reference point is just here. So for that, once in that position, doesn't matter if you stop or not, but definitely make sure you get all those checks in before you then begin coming back. We can see a lot in our mirrors, but at the same time, what we're looking for is to make sure that all round observations are being completed. So you'll notice from the camera outside the car at the moment that we are nicely in our bay, straight line reversing, looking at the back window, but don't be afraid afterwards to then turn around and look for your reference with the curb or white line, which will be exactly the same as the reference you use when you're doing the turn in the road.
Yep, great, thank you very much.
Okay.
And when you're ready, exit the car park to the left, please.
Okay, so clear instructions again, our right observations, and off we go. So even though I've just moved away, I'm still checking my mirrors because we never know what's going to happen. Like in this case, a vehicle trying to do what I call a burly at a junction. Okay.
Okay, at the end of this road, if you turn right.
Okay, so I know through local experience that this is a roundabout down here, and to be turning right, second exit is going to take me up to the main road. So still the mirror checks, inside and right, signal to the right, and again like before, just nicely bringing the speed down. You can see it's completely clear now, gives me a little bit extra time to look into other roads. Left mirror, left signal, and off the roundabout. If you ever feel you don't have enough time to check a relevant mirror for a direction of travel, then the chances are you are going too quickly. There should always be ample time to do what you need to do safely. Onto some country roads now. We're about to get up to 40 miles an hour, and what I'll do is give a commentary with you with the front view of the vehicle, so that you can hopefully see what the examiner is looking for.
Okay, and at the roundabout, we're going to go right, third exit.
Okay, so I have my directions. I have a white van behind, and I've checked my right mirror. I can see the signs for the roundabout and some roadworks down here. So I'm going to slow down a bit earlier. There hasn't been warnings, but I'm just using what I can see, and can now see that there's a service vehicle on our side of the road. I don't know, yes, the Mercedes is coming this way, so I'll wait till they've passed. I've got a good distance so that I can see if anything else is coming, and then take myself past. Now that I'm back into the left, then I'm going to signal right. We do not want to be signalling right while going right, left, or vice versa. Okay, so we can see we've got roadworks now and a larger vehicle in front. Let's just have our point of no return, which was almost there. So there has to be that point of no return where you decide that you will go through those lights, regardless of the situation. However, based on how far away we were from the vehicle in front and that nobody else was behind, the right thing to do was to stop at the lights.
So would you continue to drive through the red lights if there was a car close behind you?
Depending on its distance, you can quite often tell the aggressiveness of someone behind. If they've been driving closer and you've been doing the maximum speed for the road, then there's a good chance that they're quite desperate to get past you. So in that circumstance, I would not expect them to stop, therefore they would not expect me to stop. So again, it depends on the situation, but for all the years I have been driving and doing this, I quite often, particularly in areas that I'm not too sure of, have a point of no return and then decide if the lights change, I'll continue or not.
Great. So would you say it's safe to do 60 mile an hour on these roads?
Everything depends on what you can see. So for example, we just saw a warning triangle going round to the left, so we know this corner is going to be much harder than the last one. We see another bold slowing road and reduced speed now, so we know this next corner is worse than the last one. can see and what information you've been given from the road depends on the speed that you can drive at. For example, at this point here, I have a glimpse of vehicles in front, but they're probably still at least 500 yards away. I can see nicely around each of these corners, so I can continue with the speed. This vehicle is just pulled out. He will be picking up his speed. However, in the meantime, I've checked my mirror and eased off, so I'm not coming right up behind him and then having to brake excessively. We do have an L plate up as well, even though it's on the wrong side of the window, but yeah, we'll assume it's a learner at this point in time, and that the driver beside them has told them off for pulling out in front of us. Okay, again another bold slow on the road, and if you will show a photograph of this, but basically the signpost on the left suggests max speed 40 miles an hour because of a junction on the right. In my experience, for this particular area, if you can see that it's clear, which you can do quite far back, but again I'll show that on the outside video, you can work out if it's safe to carry on at higher speed, but it is not a speed limit. So I guess the short answer to your question is yes, based upon what you can see. So again, as soon as the directions are given to me, the mirrors are checked. Signal is on now. Again, there's a very small exit to the left, but I'm not going to confuse anybody with my signal. Gear selected, make sure it's safe, and then round we go. Okay, white fan in front. I don't expect him to go too slowly, based on he was in front of the red vehicle that we were just following.
After that, next road on the right again.
Okay, so again mirrors are checked. Van in front is slowing down, so expect him to be turning off as well, even though there's no indication. There we go, there's the brake lights now, and we can guess what he's going to do and how he's going to do it. There's a double exit on the right hand side. There's our signal from the white van now, and then he drove past the junction. So again, what you're doing is allowing for other people's mistakes. Round the corner and mirror checks again, signal on for the next road that I've been asked to take. So I'm definitely not saying that when you pass you're now a driving god because of the qualifications you now have, but what you do need to do to an advanced standard is ensure that you make allowances for other people's mistakes, and as time goes on you will begin to know the signs that suggest that someone's going to do something that's either untoward or dangerous. Okay, you see the view out the front here, very difficult road, and people generally get it wrong and come around this corner too fast. So by knowing that coming down here, if I'm asked to go up to that junction again, then I will make allowances for others coming around the bend.
Okay, if you take second road on the right.
Okay, so mirrors are in. Past the first one, I can see where it is now from the vehicle that just pulled out. Mirrors again, and signal. Line myself up with the junction, nobody approaching, and turn back.
If you can pull up and park on the left, and a safe, legal and convenient place.
Okay, so instructions given, and over to the left hand side. And await instruction.
Okay, now I would like you to use the vehicle in front to carry out the reverse park exercise. If you could pull up alongside the vehicle in front and reverse back into the space, no more than one or two car lengths.
Okay.
When you're finished, please secure the vehicle.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, so for this part of the exercise, what we're doing is the parallel park, reverse park exercise. Okay. You'll be pulled up into a position like this that you'll see on the tripod outside. You will always be given quite a distance between the parked vehicle that you're going to use and yourself. Main reason for that is simply you're taking away any of the hassle of hitting other cars, or somebody says that the space is bigger than others. You have 1.5 car lengths to do this, so you will come up with a system and you will be taught reference points, which are very important as well. So first of all, what I'm doing is having a look at the car in front. I can see it's quite close to the curb, so my second last turn is going to be a little bit later than I normally would. So check us in first of all. Good steer to get us out. We want out as soon as possible and into position about a cardboard's width away from the target vehicle. When we get there, I'm lining my steering wheel with the furthest away part of the vehicle. The reason for this is whether it's a van or a classic Mini, if you start in this reference point, you will always have enough room behind you to be able to complete the exercise. So there's the full observation at the moment. I'm almost at my first reference point, which is here. Checking my mirrors all around, one full steer for this vehicle to take us in. I'm then looking for about the 2 o'clock position, or 45 degrees, and for me it's always shoulders in line with the lights closest. There's a car behind us now, so I'm just going to acknowledge that. Back to my next reference point and then start my turn, by which what's happening is I'm continuing to get out the way of the other vehicle and also bringing us nicely in. You're allowed 1.5 car lengths for this manoeuvre, and as you'll see from the film outside, we've done pretty well with that.
Now I would like you to turn the vehicle around using forward and reverse gears as part of the turn on the road exercise. When you're finished, pull up and park on the left and secure the vehicle.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Okay, so Steve's popped out for the tripod for the filming again. So I've been asked to do the turn on the road exercise. I'd like you to have a look at the footage for what I see out the front window here. So on the left hand side where we're parked at the moment, the curb is pretty much flat with the pavement at the side. It's actually driveways that we have here. On the right hand side we have a standard curb, but this one is also really good because we've got a tight corner here. Now the main reason I chose this area was certainly on the basis of how wide this road is. You and I both know that if we went into the side towards the garages and easily and safely do a big U-turn round the other way and off we go. However, that's not what your examiner's asked. What your examiner's asked is, look, can you precisely take your vehicle into the following positions? Okay, so with that in mind, what we're looking for is 90 degrees when we reach the curb. We're also looking for 45 degrees when we come back, and then pulling up as normal beside the curb. Okay, so let's get started with this one. Again, as I've spoken about with the windows being down slightly so we can hear other vehicles, because we've got quite a blind corner here, we're going to make sure that the window's down slightly, which gives me my eyes and ears working on this. Okay, right, so here we go. All checks, all safe. As soon as the car begins to move, I want full lock as soon as possible. This is regardless of whether it's a wide or tight road, but we'll show that in later videos. As I'm getting to 90 degrees on the other side, I'm straightening up the wheel to make sure that I'm about 90 degrees towards the curb. The reference I'm using here is the curb just underneath the mirror. By doing so, what I'm doing, so there we go, there's a vehicle here, thanks. So we'll take the vehicle into reverse now. Oh, he's passed, that's fine. So if the vehicle had waited, I just would have carried on to be nice, but the window gave me that extra opportunity that I wanted. So anyway, back to my reference point. So for me in this vehicle is the curb underneath the window. You'll find one with your instructor trainer to make sure that you're comfortable with what you're doing in your vehicle. Okay, at this point, full observations, ending up looking at the back window, so starting with the right shoulder. And this time I'm putting on full lock again. Once I feel my body is about halfway across the road, then turning around to the right and looking for my reference. The reference for me here is when I have the curb exactly in the corner of this window. Most people are the same, but again, depending on how tall, short, how far back, how far forward your position is. It will vary from person to person. So we always teach reference points when we get there. Okay, so good check again. It's all clear. I'm at the 45-degree angle, taking myself forward and then nicely pulling myself in to line up with the curb and park. There's a very good chance your examiner at this point will just say follow the road ahead. However, if nothing is said, you always pull up and stop. Okay. Okay, so larger speed bumps down here, so speed is determined by the bumps. And I'm just continuing at 20 miles an hour maximum speed at the moment. Another bolt slow on the road, so having a look to see what the situation is, which is a driveway on the right hand side. Wow. And I can now see junctions ahead, so I'm going to listen out for my examiner's questions, if there's directions, if there's any.
Okay, at the end of the road here, we're going to turn left.
Okay. So I can see that it is a one-way street. However, your examiner may be nice enough just to assist you in making sure that you're aware of that. Okay, so I've stopped behind the line at the moment. We're waiting for a vehicle park on double yellow lines and another one opposite that is double parked. Forward slightly to be able to see at the moment, because a lot of the time double yellow lines are there so that people can have a clear view of a junction. So, but there's others who believe that.
Okay, and at the traffic lights we're going to turn right.
Okay, so mirrors. I'm going to signal at this one because there is vehicles on the other side at the crossroads. I didn't on the last one because there was nowhere else I could go other than round to the left. But again, I was trying to highlight the fact that there are people who just don't think and you have to deal with it. Okay, our road bounds round to the right here, so just maintaining my position and we're straight back into a one-way street again. There's no clear lanes marked, so I would follow whichever road markings seemed more appropriate at the time. Vehicle pulling out front, so another mirror check. Slowing down. Somebody approaching the crossing. The button has not been pressed, but it's still a good chance. It's still a good scan to make sure nobody else is approaching or about to cross. Most people who are knocked down and killed are within 300 yards of a pedestrian crossing. So here's another one. Vehicle in front suddenly braked in the middle of the road. So we're holding back to work out what they're going to do. This particular area here has quite a bit of history, so we'll assume that they're tourists at the moment and we want to make allowances for them. Okay, this is a good one. Bus parked at an angle down here. We can see on the left hand side there's still someone to get on. However, in this position now, the bus cannot see me at all. People often complain at the fact that buses pull out in front of them. However, sometimes it's just down to how people have parked, like in that situation, and how the bus has had to position himself. Okay, so again we're at crossroads and there's no directions being given to me, so I will assume that we're following the road ahead. At this point, it's entirely up to you how you want to prepare yourself. If it was lead vehicle, I'd have my clutch in already in first gear, so that by the time the lights change green, I would be off. In this instance, 3 vehicles in front beforehand, 2 vehicles. Therefore, I had enough time to put the clutch in and into first gear, having sat in.
Okay, if you take the next road on the right.
Okay, so creeped up on me there, and mirrors and signal in nevertheless. Pedestrians have seen me, they have completely stopped, dogs are on the lead, and we're clear to go round.
Okay, and if you can take the next road on the right.
Okay, so again, mirrors in first, you can now see the junction.
Second road on the right, sorry.
Sorry. Okay, so I'm in a position here. I would have hoped that the approaching vehicle had waited, but I have stopped opposite the junction for them. Because until they approach, I have to be somewhere on the road.
And if you take the next road on the right.
Okay, so mirrors and signal again. I'm just watching for this Nissan here, going too close to the white line. That's fine. two vehicles in the junction, one coming out and another one just going in. He's going quite slowly, so I'll just keep a good distance behind at the moment. It's not how we normally do it, however. There we go. Okay, so just following the road at the moment and dealing with any situation that arises.
Okay, if you pull up on the left just before the bus stop.
Okay, so I can see the bus stop and I'm not going to signal because nobody's around to benefit from it. And in good times, so if the bus comes while I'm here, it has plenty of room to get in. Okay, so my instructions have been given to me. Steve's outside with the tripod, so I'm using the junction on the left. Full checks around to go forward. I am aware there's a pedestrian here. She's doing somewhere for hedge, I think. There's some parked cars on the pavement. So these are all extra areas for me to look into and make sure are safe. So at this point, a good look into the junction to make sure it's safe, legal and convenient. And then pulling up to park just past the junction and stopping. Now please be aware that we don't want a park position. You want to be about twice the distance from the curb that you would normally be. The main reason for this is the closer you are, the more chance you've got of hitting it. So it just gives yourself a little bit of space. There is absolutely no reason at all why anybody should have any problems with control or accuracy on this one. Really, it's all down to if you're at the correct speed, it will work. Okay, so there's full observations in, finishing up looking out the back window. I know my steering wheel is straight, I'm straight with the curb. I'm looking for a reference point now, which for this Mini is just when I see the curb in the corner of the window. At this point, good checks again. The pedestrian has gone away, but I'm not exactly sure where she's gone, so I'm just keeping a good eye out for that. You'll notice from the video outside that we have gone just slightly wide, but what I mean by that is that we're about double the distance we started off. So again, that gives you just a little bit of space where you're able to play with it. This is actually a great corner because as we go, the corner goes left and then a steeper left, and then just as it begins to straighten up, it begins to go right as well. So again, all good looks around. I have the window slightly cracked open on the other side here. Main reason for that is down to helping me hear if there's any approaching traffic. So taking myself back and into a position about 2 car lengths into the junction. Once the handbrake's on, the examiner knows that I'm finished and we can stop there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, the junction on the right is the one I would like to use for the right reverse exercise. Okay, just like you've been taught by your instructor.
Okay.
I want you to go past the junction, making sure it's safe and convenient, and after that I want you to pull up and park on the right hand side, remaining fairly close to the curb.
Okay.
After that, once you're in the junction, I want you to come back 4 or 5 car lengths, making sure it's safe, legal and convenient at all times while remaining fairly close to the curb.
Okay.
Any questions?
No, that's...
Okay, great. Once you're ready, carry on.
Okay. Okay, so we have our instruction from the examiner to carry out the right reverse. Steve's just popped outside to film this again for us because we're on a budget here. So he has the camera outside, I have this one inside, and we will give it a go and see what you think. Okay, so Steve's popped outside again to set up the tripod for us for this manoeuvre. One thing you will notice with this right reverse is that, check, there is lots of parked cars around on my left hand side down here. Now, really what the examiner's looking for here is, are you carrying out effective observations? Are you taking proper action for the parked vehicles and or any approaching vehicles? Okay, so we're into position on the right hand side here. Not ideal because of the parked vehicles, but as long as we get straight into this and start moving, we're doing fine. Okay, so car going straight back at the moment. There is an approaching vehicle now, however we will carry on because he wouldn't be able to get past if we didn't carry on. he is turning off now in front of me, so that means that it gives us extra time to stay nice and close to the curb as we go around the corner. Nice Mercedes behind us. We can see what they're doing now, so now that we're clear that they're going to be turning off and they're driving my favourite car, now that they're driving off, what we can do is keep ourselves nice and close to the curb and carry on. So basically, any situation that arises, you are the hazard. You have to wait and see what the other person is going to do. However, as long as you can see that things are going to go your way, or you're not going to cause a hazard, then you can indeed carry on. There is, however, also other circumstances where it may be necessary for you to sorry, I'm just doing my observations now before pulling back to the other side. There may be other situations where it would be necessary for you to stop and then drive away. Okay, and that's us. The examiner has asked me to pull up and park on the left hand side of the road, so that's what I'll do, just nicely into the left. Job done.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, and once you're ready, at the end of this road, if you turn right.
Okay, so back the way we came from, and you'll know all about the observations by now, and all the head movement and neck work that goes on along with it. There are different methods to advanced driving. I'll go into them in more detail below. However, for the intents and purposes of this test, it's very much based upon the L test. Therefore, even if no one else is around, you should indicate for the direction you intend to travel. So I just managed to loop round the corner just above the hedge and see that there's a vehicle coming round, and off we go.
At the end of this road, turn right.
Okay. Mirrors, signal. Larger vehicle parked opposite here. You'll see it in my back window when I turn around. So I was just holding a little bit further back from the white line, just to ensure that if any other vehicles were coming up that I couldn't see, there'd be less risk of any kind of collision.
Okay, and if you can pull up and park on the left in a safe, legal and convenient place.
Okay, so the only opportunities I have at the moment is at a junction, so I'm going to go down past these parked vehicles and pull up and park. There is a couple of garage doors, so I'll make sure I'm past those and indicate to the following vehicle know that I'm pulling up to stop. Okay.
Okay, great. This part is your independent drive.
Okay.
Okay, you're going to be following a series of signs in different roads. Okay, at the end of this road, I want you to turn right and then follow the signs for the A1 northbound, and then I'll give you directions from there as well.
Okay.
Okay, so A1 northbound and then follow sign for Trent 2.
Okay.
Okay, so when you're ready.
Okay, so although this is called the independent part of the drive, and these instructions would be given as Steve just has, you can actually ask as many times as necessary for the instructions to be repeated. What I mean by that is, if you're approaching a roundabout and nice and early you say, sorry, I can't remember if it was turning left or right here, that's fine. If you get to the roundabout in the left lane and then go, was it turning left or right here, and the answer is right, then yeah, you've taken yourself off. However, it would be a minor remark if you did go off route, you wouldn't actually fail for that element. Okay, upper end of 30, heading down, and know roughly where the roundabout is from when we drove in here. Relatively quiet on the roads at the moment, however, taking nothing for granted, and being spring, we're looking for amorous deer as well. Okay, good mirror check, nothing approaching. So same applies with acceleration as well. We're not looking for you to just trundle along and build up your speed. We're looking for you to make safe maximum progress. A good way of thinking of this is something along the lines of you're late for an appointment, but you have a police car behind you, which is kind of a perfect frame of mind to have actually. speed limit, just approaching, nobody's about to overtake, and I'll just increase my speed as such. So I can see the sign for the roundabout now. Can't read it yet, but I know where it is. And I know I'm following signs for A1 northbound. So I have that now, which is the first exit on the left. Fire signal, got a slight slope going up towards the roundabout here. So just very, very gently braking off the speed. What's on the right hand side? I'm not familiar with this area, so I'm not familiar if he would generally come around my way. He hasn't, so that's fine. And I now see the next slit road for me to go onto and a public service vehicle that's there. So we'll just go with extra caution at the moment, and we've just found out that that road's closed. Where would you like me to go?
Okay, if you go straight ahead, second exit.
Okay.
That's unfortunate.
I do believe that that road was just closed on our approach, hence the service vehicle that I saw.
Okay, so now that we're on this new route from the diversion there, I would still like you to follow signs for Trinette. Okay, so at the bottom of this road, we're going to be turning left and then following signs for Trinette.
Okay. Okay, so two big bold slows on the road there. Not so much because this is a very bad or tight corner that I'm going round, but basically because it's an adverse camber. At the point where the car is leaning most to the right, the road is actually tilted slightly to the right, so it would be very easy to lose control back there. And there's lots of gaps in the hedges all the way down in this road of people who didn't pay heed to those signs. Okay, back into 30 here, and I can see a stop sign at the end. So just a point with regards to gears. I'm in 4th gear at the moment, but I know I am stopping, so there's no point in changing down the gears. Vehicle comes up, all 4 wheels stop as they do. I'm in 1st gear. Brake assist, so I can use that just with my foot brake and off the wheel. For some of you people who learnt to drive in the 80s, you would have been taught that at a stop sign you had to put on your handbrake before then moving off. Nowadays, because of hill assist being available in so many cars, as long as all 4 wheels stop behind the line, then we're fine. But do remember, if your pause becomes a wait, then you are definitely going to use your handbrake. And I'll explain that in more detail as you go through your course. Okay, so a white car behind us that's cropped up fairly quickly. See the road all the way down, so they have to be going a lot quicker than 30 or 40 miles an hour in those particular zones. So I'm going to keep myself well to the left as we come onto this dual carriageway, and I'll let them past. So she's already started to move, so I'm not going to accelerate at this point because it would impede their progress on the right hand side. So as they move forward and then begin to pull in, then I'll begin to pick up my speed as well. Dual carriageway again, no central barrier, but there is a central reservation, and therefore the speed limit here is 70 miles an hour. Planning ahead has to be much further, and I'm also paying attention to the railway here, which we've just seen a couple of red lights. And that shows me that with the new signs telling us that there is a level crossing, we would expect the barriers to be open. It's something to be very aware of in future, because if there is vehicles coming off this dual carriageway to turn off in that direction, they will be queuing on the main road before going through the level crossing. Okay, road begins to come back into one single lane again, so that's going to reduce our speed from 70 down to 60, two-way traffic again. Okay, I see the next roundabout and I can clearly see the sign for Trinette, so mirrors checked, signal on, off gas, hill slowing me down, gently go for the brake. A bit more of a closed junction for the roundabout this time, so my priority is to make sure I have my own lane on the left, then look right after the gear is selected. Therefore the vehicle is now ready. to be moved if it is safe. So preparing to stop and looking to go in all circumstances. Next roundabout up here. So again, I've pulled up whip speed up to 60, and now I see the sign, check the mirrors, I'm already off the gas, car's beginning to slow itself down, continuing to follow the signs for turning that were given to me. So same again, look where my eyes are, second gear, now looking right, it's safe, then I can pull the vehicle out. It's one of the things that if anybody's going to have any kind of problems at a junction for the word emerge, which again we'll describe in more detail in your part 3, but for the word emerge means before you travel across that white line. So you must know if you need to stop, that you're able to. If not, it's clear to go. Okay, next sign, 12 o'clock position for turning. So inside left mirror, left lane. Same again, all prepared, look right. Vehicle alongside me, so giving him plenty of room in case he goes wide. Left mirror check, signal, and into our new road. Okay, and straight into a new speed limit as well. Something to be aware of here is watch for speed limits very close to junctions.
Okay, Davidson, that's the end of your independent drive.
Okay, thank
I'm
you.
going to give you directions from now on.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so that part is over. And again, just back to being directed as to where the examiner would like you to go. Okay, let's park vehicles here, and I can't see too much round the corner. So just a point, sometimes it is better when you're overtaking and on the opposite side of the road to go just that little bit quicker, on the basis that you get yourself back onto your own side much quicker.
Okay, and at the next roundabout we're going left first exit.
Okay. So again, more of a close junction to the right, but then it suddenly became a winder junction, so I could see that second gear was still fine to pull out at a slower speed. Okay, so High Street here. Not too much going on at the moment, but we are watching for things like vehicles with brake lights on, car doors opening, exhaust smoke coming out, anything at all that could suggest that someone may pull out in front of us.
Now the traffic lights, if you follow the road round to the right.
To the right, crossing's clear. I'm just going to drop a gear here just because the cars in front were picking off a little bit slower. And a good view up the road here, so we can see that nothing's approaching us at the moment, with all the parked cars that are around on both sides of the road. Okay, there's more distance between me and the vehicle in front now. I'm at 30 miles an hour, just being aware of the silver vehicle on the right, just in case he had pulled out in front of me, knowing the area better than I do.
Okay, and I want you to take next road on the left.
Okay, so there's those mirrors again. Signal, vehicle on the opposite side signalling to turn around as well. I do have priority, but just being very aware that they don't pull out in front of me.
Okay, and if you take next road on the left.
Okay, so there's the mirrors in again. So this particular area is a 30 mile an hour limit. However, speed bumps are on the road for a reason, and to be honest, they are fairly tight corners, so I wouldn't have expected anybody to ever be doing more than 20, to be honest. However, base your speed on what you can see and expecting the unexpected.
Okay, if you pull up and park on the left in a safe, legal and convenient place.
Okay, so just round the next bend, just off the junction. I'm going to go past this junction here, just simply on the basis that I felt it was a little bit too close to the side. Sorry, a little bit too close to the junction itself.
Okay, great. And when you're ready, carry on.
Okay, incidents like that will happen a lot. you'll at least be stopped and asked to move away again at least half a dozen times. Some will be on the straight, some will be uphill, some will be downhill.
And at the end of this road, turn left.
Okay, and some will be with being in between parked vehicles. I'll explain those reasons in a second once I get out here. Okay, the reasons for it is basically always to make sure those shoulder checks are in. Are you doing the shoulder checks just because you know that you have to, or are you doing the shoulder checks because you will actually do them? And it's one of the simplest ways to waste your £111 test fee at this point in time, which is putting on an act for the test as opposed to doing something that you actually always do.
Okay, at the traffic lights, turn right.
Okay. So lights down here, I'm turning right, but I've kept my position across to the left at this point in time, just simply because we've got parked vehicles on the right hand side. Therefore, if any buses or larger vehicles come round the corner, they would still be able to get past. So I'm aware the traffic lights in front of me should have been red for both sides, but it's also very good to get a little check in just to make sure that nobody's missed those lights. Always better to call them name than to hit them and exchange details. Okay, vehicle in front stopped on a double yellow just before the crossing, so I'm trying to double check what's happening and how.
Okay,
Someone just
at the next roundabout, go right second exit.
Okay. Okay, so mini roundabout, I don't have to signal to come off a mini roundabout. However, if there's time to do so, then you should. At the very least, cancel your signal before you get to the junction you want to take. Okay, parked vehicles and approaching vehicle, give you a nice wee wave. So it's always nice to be nice, and being nice doesn't cost anything. So please, please be one of these people who wave and say thanks, even if it was your priority anyway. Okay, so vehicles coming towards me are coming uphill. One of the first things people tend to forget once they pass their tests is on a hill, vehicles coming up the way have priority. Therefore, with parked cars on both sides, spread out, and just being aware of anybody who could be on my side. But do remember with this one that, as I say, a lot of people forget this nice and early once they pass their test. So please don't assume that because you're going downhill, if you're going uphill, please don't assume anybody's going to give way to you.
Okay, at the next roundabout, we're going to go straight ahead, second exit.
Okay, so for this particular roundabout, the straight ahead is just past the 12 o'clock position on the roundabout. So I'm going to adopt the right hand position to go straight ahead. There's that forward planning again, so we can get out in second gear in between two nice big beamers. And off into our junction.
And at the next roundabout, left, first exit.
Okay, so I see the sign for the roundabout now, mirrors are out the way. I see where the roundabout is now. Just time for another mirror check before going for the signal. I can't see very much on the right at the moment because of the brush that's there. So in second gear, still wheels rolling, one car's out, and out we go. So basically whatever you feel is appropriate. Generally you will teach your pupils to use second gear at roundabouts. However, with your experience, if you can do it in first, second or third gear, then by all means do so.
And at the next roundabout, we'll go right, third exit.
Okay, there's the mirrors. Signal. Now, just like the last junction, I have a concrete wall on the right hand side, so I can't see very much at the moment. I can see, however, that vehicles approaching this roundabout are going much quicker, and I can see now from their point of view they could see quite a lot down to the left, their right, to know if the road was going to be safe. So because of that, I went into first gear to make sure that if somebody did come flying down there and out, I'm not going to be in front of them waiting to be hit in the side of the vehicle.
I've seen you do block changes there. Is that a must on the Part 2 test?
Basically what we're looking for is that there are as few gear changes as possible. Each time you go do a gear change, one, you're doing wear and tear on your clutch and gearbox as such. The second one is you're showing forward planning. The third aspect is safety. You have control of the vehicle as long as the clutch is engaged. So the more gear changes you make, also the less control that you have. We may just be talking about a second for every gear change that's in there, but everything counts, and we never know when an accident or an incident may occur. We never go out looking for one, so it's always best wherever possible to just choose the appropriate gear and stay there.
Okay, now I want you to take the next road on the left.
Okay, so mirror checks in, vehicle behind a little bit closer than I would have liked, so I'm going for my signal now. See where the junction is. I couldn't see it on approach, but the traffic island didn't point out to me where I wanted to turn off.
And then if you take the next road on the right.
Check into the right now. Again, high hedge, so unsure. I've got the point of turn though, so I can take myself in.
And if you pull up and park on the left in a safe, legal and convenient place.
Okay, and this time we can do it quite close. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, for this part, I want you to do the emergency stop exercise.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to give you the signal stop, hand out a firm stop,
Okay.
and I want you to only react to that. Okay. When you're ready, if you carry on.
Okay, so instructions received. Again, we'll put the split screen on the camera for you, and we'll go for the emergency stop exercise. Main thing here is to make sure that you get the speed on as soon as possible. Make sure it's relevant and safe to the circumstances. So with speed bumps here, it's going to be about 20-25 miles an hour, and listen for that command. I will actually say it since Steve's outside the car. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so full observations, all safe. Begin to pick up the speed as soon as we can. Into second gear, and we're going for 3, 2, 1, stop! Okay, car stopped completely, handbrake on, into neutral. Once we've done that, first gear, check it's safe all around, and then we're pulling up to park inside. We'll discuss below why we make sure those checks are completed before we actually finish the exercise.
Okay, thank you very much. When you're ready, carry on.
Okay. So nice tight roads again. Lots of hazards on each side, so we're just always planning ahead as much as possible to ensure that we get the clearest possible view. Weather can be a big factor when you sit your test. I do have a part written below about sunglasses. However, that's something we'll discuss later. Okay, reversing vehicle, enough time for a mirror check. I couldn't have expected them to see me because he was halfway out to the road before I could see him. Therefore, we have to work with what both of us can naturally see.
Okay, at the end of this road, turn right, and then I want you to turn left.
Okay, end of the road, turning right. And then we'll be going left. Okay, and I suddenly know where I am again. It's actually quite good to practice sometimes, just going onto roads that you're not so familiar with.
And if you take the next road on the right.
Okay. And by doing so, you'll probably find out a lot more about your driving. Nobody needs to be with you, and anybody looking at you will think that you're talking to your hands-free kit as opposed to looking like you're mad. But try doing some sort of running commentary with what you're doing as well. Because you're learning, there will be things that are not right, but as long as you're picking up on them.
Okay, I want you to take the next left into the test centre.
Okay.
And if you can park up in a bay for me.
So bear in mind here, I'm not being asked to do a brake park, I'm being asked to turn in. So there's that block change into first because it's narrow. And please be clear with that. If the examiner wants you to do a brake park, it will be like it was asked earlier on in the film. But don't put yourself under any more pressure than is necessary. So I'm going to find the bay and just drive into it. And in doing so, do remember, like the story earlier about the gentleman hitting the wall at the test centre, the test is not over until the handbrake is on, you're into neutral, and your examiner says,
Okay, thank you very much. That's the end of your test.
thank you.
And I'm pleased to say that you've passed.
At last. I might even make a career of this one day.
Well done.